Alright, back again, Luke here. And as you can see, we're outside, and one of the big reasons for that is I figured we could do some repairs. But before we do some repairs, we're going to have to do some cleaning. So if you're able to see that last video that I put up where I got this huge box of stuff from Alec Roberts, a few of those items had some, well, critters and dirt in them. So in order to try and take these things apart without destroying the house, I figured we'd take this outside and you guys can get a better look at what these look like here. And as for the games, so let you guys take a look at this in some sunlight. Here is good old Adventures of Link for the NES, which is packed with stuff and has seen much, much, much better days. Poor thing is, like, I think been left out in the dirt and the rain and the elements for who knows how long. Battery-backed game, so that's going to be fun to see how much corrosion is inside, as well as our Link to the Past Zelda, which is also battery-backed, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with, at least get partially running. I'm kind of hoping. And finally, the last one is this beast, which is still, as you can hear, just making tons of noise from all of the dirt and remnants in it. So I figured what we'll do here is we'll try and open these guys up and see what they look like on the inside. First one I guess we'll try is this guy here, and see what we can do. I haven't opened these up at all. Looks like somebody's kind of opened this one. It's got a bit of the screw. Well, it's kind of rusted on there, so I'll remove this one. But yeah, these old machines here, left out in the elements, definitely is going to take its toll on the inside. I hope that's mostly dirt and not rust particles, but probably going to be the latter. It looks like rust. Yeah, it looks like rust coming out, so, jeez. I'm starting to get more and more leery as we get closer and closer to removing this. Is this missing a screw? No, it's there. The element of surprise. Oh yeah, that is rust. That's huge chunks of rust coming out. What has rusted? Maybe the top part of the NES. Let's see here. Guys ready? Oh, okay. Well, for the first part here, you can see that all of that noise was coming from, looks like the RF box that was down here, just completely disintegrated. We'll try and take this thing apart a bit more, but it's covered in rust. I mean, kind of expected it being this weathered. Hopefully there's something left of the circuit board. Might be asking a lot, but we'll see here. Hope the old camera, you guys probably not being able to see so well. That's where I should grab my drill. We can just pop these things out one at a time. But wow, never worked on something this rough before. I shouldn't probably use the word worked on because it's not really being worked on. This one's rusted in there. You can see the regulator there. I don't know if that regulator is gonna regulate anything. This one down here. And turn this guy around. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this casing has protected some of the board from the elements, but looking at the fact that it's kind of come in through all different angles, like water or rust, it's looking pretty grim here. Obviously, this wouldn't be a system that you'd want to plug in this situation or current status. Alright, let's see. Okay, oh, we're getting down into the next layers here. So then there's another rusted off screw down at the bottom. Wow, that one, can I get a grip on it? I don't think I can. Oh no, that one is stripped. So unfortunately, this thing's not going to be able to come out right now. I don't think, with that last one being down in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see this one or not down here, but there is a screw down in the bottom there that is completely stripped. Just, it's almost like become a part of the tray assembly here. And if we have to kind of bend it up or break it out of place, that's what we'll have to do. But check these ones out. This one out here. This guy out here. Can we lift this thing up a little bit to get the tray out? Yeah, we can. Okay, we can get the tray out. Okay, well, good news is the circuit board doesn't look as bad as I had originally suspected, so that's kind of a good thing. You can see the rest of that rust coming out of there. This screw, on the other hand, this thing is not gonna budge, is it? And the problem with that is that we won't be able to get this out until we remove that screw, or until we cut around it. Let's see, I'm gonna try and grab some tools here. I'll get on this and see if I can get this thing kind of cut out, and I'll be back in a little bit. So see you guys in a few. Okay, well, I managed to get this thing off, and you guys can see where all that rust was coming from. That is from the bottom of the RF box, basically the main power input. It's completely eaten that away, and the bottom of the board here, you can see, has suffered from serious amounts of corrosion. Let's see if we can disconnect these cables here. Hopefully. These guys are kind of jammed in there. Alright. There we go. Okay. Well, now we can somewhat remove the bottom shielding here, and we've got our spider remnants here, and the rest of this RF box on the bottom. This is going to be tricky, but I'm going to have to desolder this. It looks like the board has all been eaten away here as far as the power goes. And who knows what the other side looks like. I mean, that looks like it's a disaster. So, looks like this whole section here for the power input and the RF box is shot. I don't know if that will be repairable or not. But, yeah, we're going to have to see what we can do about that. That's going to be a big challenge. Let's see, get this one disconnected. So here's our board, which is probably really difficult to see, but you can see, nonetheless, it's been chewed up quite a bit, and the PCB has been eaten along the side there. All of these points here for the solder points. Here is our regulator on the side, and yeah, this thing has seen much better days, but let's see about disconnecting this one here. Okay, well, there's our 72 pin connector, and underneath it we've got a bit of corrosion going on here. I don't know if that's all the way through or not. It's kind of close, but okay, so far NES system here, we're gonna need some parts. We're gonna need some work on this thing to see what's going on. You can see eaten traces along the side here. So again, we'll have to test those. Not gonna give up yet. We're gonna keep plugging along and see. This one here as well along the back, quite a bit of eaten traces as it appears on the side. But okay, we'll put this guy aside for right now. Here is the remnants I'll show you guys later how much rust pieces are in this setup. Put this guy up here. And this next thing is, how about we'll go with good old Link to the Past and see what this thing entails here. Hopefully this isn't too boring for you guys. This is kind of like mystery and adventure and kind of like, you know, all mixed into one. Let's take this guy apart here and open it up. Okay, well, this one doesn't appear to be too bad. Actually, I think we can salvage this guy. Although there does look to be at least 2 eaten traces on the side here for the last 2 pins. This one seems manageable. We might be able to get this guy going. You can see there's a crack in the back of the shell there. Let's see if we can pop that back out. Yeah, alright. Well, we'll give this a shot later on, try and clean this up. See if we can clean up the pins a little bit here. Those pins are looking rough, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna see what we can do with this one. Looking a lot better than the NES, so this one's got potential and possibilities. We'll keep this one over here. And this one, on the other hand, this one may be another grim one. I think there was Mario and Duck Hunt too that I had to take a look at. Crack that open as well. I think what we'll do is we'll test these games on working system. That'll make it much, much easier to figure out what's going on. And then we'll use maybe a working, like if we can get one of these ones working, we'll use that to test the other one if we get the parts we need. Okay. There we go. Alright. Well, once again, we've got quite a few eaten pins here on the side in our nest of nastiness. But once again, this one looks salvageable. This one may be salvageable as well. So what we'll do is we'll try and scrub this guy down and test some of that. It does have a couple of pins like over here which look like they're a bit green. I'm not sure if those are eaten all the way through or not. Actually, these ones in the middle look a little rough. These ones with the corrosion there, that might be partially or mostly through the pins. We'll see. We'll see. This one, once again, I'll try and clean this guy out. One half, the other half with the other remnants of whatever was living there. Have to scrub these shells up much, much better, but there's those two. And where is Super Mario Brothers? Alright, here we go with this one. Give this guy a shot. Lots and lots of mass destruction going on here. I don't think I have any spare RF boxes, so I might have to track one down, see if I can find one online, like parts or not, to fix the other one, because this box is quite in rough shape. Alright, and Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers here. We've got a little bit of corrosion going on that. But this one actually looks like it's in the best condition. Go figure, right? It always has to be Super Mario Brothers that never has any issues. Well, it looks like here there might be a bad trace, but well, we'll polish that one up and we'll see what we can do with these guys. I guess the next step here is the most logical one. We'll try and get the games going, and then from there we'll try and disassemble the rest of the NES. strip it down, see what parts we can replace on it, what can be removed. The solder seems to be really rough on it, especially with these dry solder joints. That's not going to be easy to remove, and we'll go from there. It's got some RAM on the bottom, which might be toast by now, and these multiple traces here, but I've repaired worse with traces, not worse with rust and stuff, so we'll have to see what we can do. But I guess the next step will be to clean these games up. We'll go ahead and scrub those guys down, and then we'll show you guys before and after, see if they fire on after a bit of some cleaning. So I'm going to get those things cleaned up, and I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so after using some extensive cleaning techniques here, including my buffing wheel on my grinder, I was able to kind of polish up the pins here with Super Mario Brothers. It doesn't look too bad. This one actually came out quite decent, and looks like it should work without many issues. One of the more difficult ones here, this one is A Link to the Past, and this one is still showing like these areas here look like the traces are incomplete. I'll still have to test those out. There's rust on the contacts here on the front, and especially on the back. There were many parts where the rust has kind of like eaten through the trace in a couple of parts, as well as the pads here. So not sure exactly what'll happen, but this looks somewhat promising. We'll have to try that out. If not, we'll have to repair some of those broken traces on the system or on the board. And the last one here, this one is The Adventures of Link, and once again there's a couple of spots here which are quite eaten through. This one is eaten as well, and kind of eaten spots along the board, along the back here. This one seems to be the worst one in the corner. We'll have to go ahead and see if that'll work or not, but yeah, nonetheless, we've got these things pretty much to a more polished state. I'm going to try and clean these cases up, then we'll put the games inside and give them a test just to see how they work. But that's the next step. Maybe some other areas here. These ones look like they're a bit eaten away, and that looks like some battery acid kind of leaking out there. Yeah, I don't know, we'll have to double check and see what's going on with this one. But yeah, I'll try and put these things together, and we'll see how they're working or what's going on with them, and go from there. So I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, I've got the old NES plugged in, hooked up, and here is one of the games. This is how Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt came out. After cleaning it up a bit, we've got yeah, a bit of some rough damage here to the label. You can see that the label's discolored. That's one of them. Let's see here, grab another one. This is our Adventures of Link, which once again, behind the label, was extremely discolored just due to being eaten away. And poor thing has been basically like just chewed up over the years. But we've got this one kind of put back together. I don't have any of the screws put back in these, just for testing purposes. And the last one here is our Zelda Link to the Past. You can see that the lettering here up at the top is all chewed up. There's a little bit of color left from where that sticker was kind of concealing and hiding the letters from the sun fade. But yeah, so I figured what we'll do is we'll plug these guys in here and see if they do anything. First off, just to show, I haven't tested any of these at all, but I just got this one plugged in. This is regular Zelda. This is our original Zelda plugged in there, and I figured we can test its twin brother here, see how that works. Well, we know that's working. Let's take this guy out. And let's plug this in and test some of that. Kind of hoping for the best here. What do we get? Oh my gosh! It's alive! Look at that! Oh my goodness! Wow! That is so cool. Let's see if it starts. It does start. Well, the battery is dead. You can obviously see there. But, yeah, register your name. This is not going to save it all. It's going to need a new battery. Wow. But it is alive. Look at that. Well, so far, one down. So cool that this thing is not completely destroyed. What a classic game here. Hopefully that was all the monsters disappearing. Not sure if that was a glitch or not. Oh, it's working. Seems to be working. Nice. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, there's that one. I guess we can put the screws back in this one. Fantastic. Look at that. I mean, that thing was just, weathered for years. Next one, let's try good old Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Once again, this one looked like it was in the most decent condition. It's working too. This is awesome. All right, let's try this guy here. See what we get. Alright, plugged in. Power. Oh my gosh. It's alive. I don't believe this. All three of these things are alive and working. This is the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh. With the way that these things looked, after scrubbing them up, I didn't think I could do this without a bit of some solder, but started right up. Look at that. Let's try and hit the old start button. Oh my gosh, and it's still got saves on it. Look at that. The battery is still working. That is freaking amazing. That is unbelievable. Sarah, Henry, if you guys are watching this video right now, your game is back from the dead. Look at that. What a thing of beauty. What's the inventory look like? Oh. Wow. Nicely done. Everything's all in order here. I wonder how many years later this is since this game was last played. That's the other cool thing about like repairing these kinds of things is like the nostalgia factor, plus the, you know, like having a game that has a save file on it like this old that's been rotting in a barn. You know, there's no telling when this thing was last played, but obviously the owners of this really did enjoy it at one point in time. But it's working. This is too awesome. Alright guys, well we've got 2 down, well 3 down here so far. Last one is going to be the NES itself. Not sure if we can salvage it, but we're gonna definitely give it a shot. So next up will be that. Catch you guys here in a little bit. Oh, that's so awesome. And I still have to repair the AC adapter on this thing. Okay, so as you can see here, after removing that sticker that was on the Link to the Past and the rust chunks and rust parts here that were inside the NES, we're kind of left with this rusted spot here. We've got our parts, still have a lot of rust on them. This is the top part, the lid, that's rusted. This thing's got tons and tons of dirt inside it. It's going to have to be kind of scrubbed up, cleaned out. We've got our front clip here, just scratched up. And here's our bottom board. Once again, some coated in rust. That part might even fall off. Got another look at the bottom board. Here's the plastic casing for the adapter. Here's our connector for the machine. controller ports here, controller ports. And top lid, what I've done so far is I've tried to clean the board up a little bit more here, and I think we might actually try this and see if we can get this working. As you can see, I've scrubbed at the bottom there. You can see that the traces seem to be intact, but we'll have to go ahead and do some more work. There are the pins for that, which look quite eaten, and the top part. So next part here is to try and clean everything up and try and remove that AV RF box off the bottom there and go from there. But get on that, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, what I've done is I've removed the RF box and AV box here. Unfortunately, ripped a couple of traces out just because the solder was so old. You can probably see here that the post actually came out, but the solder didn't even heat up, so quite a bit of difficulty getting this thing off. Really tried my best to heat this thing up, but it just didn't work. So nonetheless, I got that one out. That's out of the way here. As you can see, I've already dissected it, and this thing is in really bad shape. I mean, it just looks like it was sunk in the bottom of an ocean, just with the amount of corrosion that's on this thing. Luckily, I was able to get the AV ports out and the single channel mono sound port out of the board. That solder actually freed up, as well as the RF switch here. But unfortunately, I had to kind of pry my way through the power switch, and these two screws on the side here, these were just, I mean, those are stuck in there. There's no way those are coming out. So this is the current case here. All of the basic posts that were holding this in place are rusted out. There's the top of it, and here's what's left of our unit. Now, with this thing here, a couple of the transistors with the legs on them have been completely rusted. I mean, you guys can see that. Completely rusted through. One of them actually fell off. That was here. So it needs to have the caps replaced, it needs to have this resistor replaced. I need to go over the bottom here and make sure that all of these are making contact. Probably going to have to change this 5-volt regulator on the side. I mean, it might still be working, I'm not sure, but nonetheless I'm going to have to at least clean it up, make sure that the points are okay on it. We're going to have to clean these posts up before we put it back in. And yeah, after all that's done, we'll see if it works. This is going to be a major project here to try and get this thing, you know, cleaned up and working again. You can probably see the remnants of the insects on the inside here, as well as here. So yeah, good times to be had. We'll see what we can do, but that's the next step here, is to try and polish everything up the best we can. This is where the switch was for the different channel selector, and that is completely gone. So we'll have to remove that as well. We'll get on that, and I'll see you guys eventually here in a little bit. So stay tuned. Okay, so as you can see here, what I've been doing is working on this RF AV area and kind of patching some of these broken traces along the sides here. Also trying to shine this up a little bit more. Might have to do a little bit more work on it, but trying to get that all squared away. Main reason why is because I want to see if I can at least salvage that AV RF unit that's supposed to go on the side here. So I've been in the process of trying to remove the old capacitors that were on it, on that old board, and as well as these are some transistors. I don't know if you guys can see, but they were completely eaten away and they fell right off the board. So I've ordered up a couple of transistors as well. But so far, what we've got is, this is our board. I've scrubbed it up a bit, tried to see what components may still be salvageable and usable on this. So far, what I need to do is replace those two transistors on the side here. I've replaced these capacitors, and I've already ordered up, I'm not sure how long it'll take, but hopefully it'll come soon, a 120 ohm resistor here. That needs to go on that part. As for the other parts, it kind of looks salvageable. I mean, I looked at the legs on it to see if they would be alright, and the legs seem okay. I'm kind of hoping that this 5-volt regulator is okay as well. What I'm guessing is, you know, being in the barn or being in the dirt or whatever, in the elements for so long, it wasn't a matter of this thing dying because it didn't get any power. It was probably a matter of this thing dying just because all the components got eaten away. So I'm kind of banking on those components just being eaten away and, you know, these parts just being gone and rusted away, being the main problem, the reason why this thing kind of wound up like it did. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see what we get when we put all the components back on it here and put the board back together, see if we get power or not. But that's where we're at so far with this board. Like I said, I'm kind of hoping these other components will be somewhat manageable or usable, but we'll have to wait and find out. We'll put that aside there. The other thing I had to do was I had to try and polish up this cage. Now, if you guys remember, this thing was completely rusted, and it still does have a lot of rust on it, but I've kind of gone over this with my Dremel tool and my grinder and trying to get off as much rust as possible because I'd like to reuse this. And this is going to be an essential point in, or an essential part here in putting this back together, because I'm definitely going to need this when it comes to reassembling this. So as you can see, it'll fit on like so, and the points for each one of these, like RF switch and the AV switch, probably not going to be able to get this in here too smoothly, but those will fit back into place nonetheless here, and we'll solder them back in, and that'll be the board. And I'll have to pick up another what is it, AC adapter input, because the old one, I don't even know where it is. Oh, here it is. This one was completely disintegrated and eaten away, so I'm gonna have to find another way to get power to this. For testing purposes, I may just wire up a wire for the positive and for the negative, because this is not gonna do it. That is completely destroyed. But nonetheless, this thing is kind of coming together. It's got a little bit more of a normal look to it. I even took this one here, which was pretty eaten away by rust and whatnot, and scrubbed it up the best I could, so this could fit on top to kind of protect it when it goes back together. And then that will in turn kind of fit back in here. So we're gonna hope and see how this goes, but I'm kind of hoping that with minimal replacement of parts, I'll be able to get this thing back up and running again using the original components that were on this before it got left in a barn to rot. But that's where we're at so far. Like I said, I've got a few different parts that I gotta wait on for them to come in the mail. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll take for those to come in, but we'll have to wait and see. Once we get those in, I'll solder those in place, kind of wire this thing up and see what we get. But we'll have to wait and see here, maybe about a week or a couple weeks, and kind of go from there. But that's where we're at right now. I'll just put this aside here and we'll come back and do some work on it in a little bit. So see you guys soon. Okay, so another thing, as you can see here, I had to do is go and polish up and repair the power and reset button switch area. This thing had a lot of problems. The switches were a bit locked up and weren't making good contact, so the power switch, I went and stripped that down, as well as the reset button as much as I could. Tried to make sure the contacts are making good contacts. Removed the old LED. As you can see here, this one was also rusted through, and even on the inside started to rust, so that's not going to be a very useful diode there. So I put in a new one here, and I have no idea what color it is. I'm guessing it's probably blue, just based on the parts that I had laying around. But so far that's in there. Had to rip all of these wires out because they were covered in corrosion, and a few of them were frayed, so ready to snap. Cut all those off and put those back on there. Removed everything the best I could and then put it back on there. But I think we're looking okay as far as the power switch area goes. The only thing that I'm really waiting on now is the parts for the power area itself and that AV box, and then from there we'll go ahead and try and plug it back together and see if we get any power or anything happens with it. But so far that's where the next part is, and kind of keep you guys updated. We'll go along from there as soon as parts come in, but I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, these are some of the other components that we have left to work with. These are extremely corroded, and on the inside here the pins are either green or really rusty. So we're gonna have to go through each one of these and see what we can do about cleaning these things up. You can see there on the end, that pin there, as well as a couple other ones. These things are really mean and green. So I'll have to see what we can do about these ones here, as well as the metal sheeting here. these two plates are going to have to be extremely sanded down. And I don't know how well it's going to work, but we'll try and see what we can do. Get these covers kind of shined up a little bit more. But this one's really, really rough. But yeah, we'll get on that and try and clean these up. Hopefully, the next vid here we'll have something looking a little bit better. But I'll get on that and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so I've got a lot of the dirtiness out of the inside of there. What I've done is I've filled the holes here a little bit with some vinegar, and I'm hoping that I'll try and eat up some of that corrosion that's on the inside, since it's just too hard to get at with everything else. But I'll let that set for a little while, then I'll come back and check it and scrub it up and see if we can neutralize that. Hopefully it'll take care of shining up the pins a little bit, but that's where we're at right now, so I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got some parts in today, and I've got a little bit of a makeshift power adapter here. This one came out of an old Famicom, which still will provide the same pinout and the same power supply rating as the original NES, just the shape is a little bit different. We've got our 2 transistors and put those in. Those just came in the mail, as well as our replacement resistor. So as far as this board goes here, it is pretty much all put back together. The only thing we need to do is just plug it back in and test it out and see if it works. I'm not really going to mess with the RF switch here. It's not needed, I think, and we're not going to be using RF on it. So essentially, we really don't have to have it in there. We're only going to be using the AV outs on it. So hopefully, if everything goes well, this thing will fire on and it will be awesome, but we'll have to wait and see. Next step here is we're going to have to try to put this thing back together, assemble the cage, put it back into the circuit board, and hit power and see if we get anything. But that's what we're going to do next here. I'll get this thing all put back together and see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I've got everything kind of sitting back in its shell. I've got the Adventures of Link popped in here as the test cart. Got things just kind of plugged in, haven't turned the power on at all, so I don't know what we're gonna get. Hopefully it doesn't smoke. That's the key point that I'm kind of hoping on right now. But I'm hoping that this thing will do something positive, work, I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and give it a shot, see if we get power to it. Here we go. No power. Still no power. No power. Unfortunately, it's not getting anything. So it could be that bad regulator, I'm guessing. I don't know. Yep, no power here. Could also be the cables, maybe, not making enough contact. I don't know. Well, nothing yet, guys. So I guess we're gonna have to go back to the old drawing board and see what else we can do. Alright guys, messing around here a little bit more. I've decided to separate the power box here from the rest of the unit. And I can hear a quick like blurp from the speaker. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Oh, there was a bit of a video. Oh, it's flashing now. Oh, it's flashing. The light's coming on too. Oh my gosh. All right, this is good. Let's well, it's not good, but let's try to reseat the game and see what happens. I don't know. Still flashing. Okay, we get the yellow screen. This could be bad RAM. At least it's putting out video now. This is awesome. We'll have to mess around with this a little bit more. Plus the fact that this thing, you know, it's not really situated in there so well. It feels really, really loose there on the pins. Alright. We got yellow and pink flashing screen. I'm going to mess around with this a little bit more and see if we can get this thing to start up. This is looking much, much more promising. At least the light's coming on and it's flashing. We're getting video. So I'll get on this and hopefully see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so as you can see here, what I've done is I've replaced the work RAM as well as the video RAM, and as you guys can see here, let's hit the old power. Are you ready? It's alive. We've got a working NES again. So what this means here is I'm going to have to try and get the power supply. As you can see, the power supply unit is just kind of dangling here. I've got it off to the side so I could do extra repairs on it if I needed to, and get everything working this way. But yeah, it's firing on. It's working. So the Barntendo, as we'll have to call it here, is up and working. I'm going to have to get everything kind of put back together before we can call this a day, but for the most part, it's turning on, which is more than it was what it was doing before. And if we pop this out, I don't know if we'll be able to do this. Let's see if we can do this one-handed. This is going to be pretty risky and whatnot, but we'll give it a shot. Let's see if we can do this here. Is it possible? I don't even know if this is possible. Let's see, get in there. Okay, got this on, this one here. Let's see. Oh, that one didn't work, probably because it's not aligned right. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and mess around with this and see what else we can do, but at least the game came on there the first time. So I'm gonna get back on this, we'll see what we can do, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, so before we do some reassembly, we've got to get these guys polished up a little bit more so we can put this stuff back together with them. So what we'll do is we'll try and get to sanding and get this thing polished up a little bit. That way the rust doesn't continuously spread, although it's already in there quite a bit. This is kind of the worst area over here, but we'll get on this and try and get them scrubbed up. Hopefully when you see this next part, it'll be a little bit nicer, but I'll get on that and see you guys in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, what I've done is kind of polish this up a little bit better than what it used to be. It's not perfect, and there are still some spots where the rust is, but this will have to do for right now. Not too bad, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this thing oiled up so it doesn't rust anymore, slap this thing back together, and we'll give it a shot. I still have to do the top part, but at least this one's come along quite a bit. But I'll get on that, and I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the best that I could do with the top. You can see it's still pitted, but we've got the top all back in there. It's got the original RF box, and 95% of this thing is original. I used the original 72-pin connector, used the original AV-RF box. Basically, the only things that I've changed around on this are the capacitors, the transistors, the resistor, the LED up front here, and the RAM in it. But other than that, it's all stock. Haven't touched anything with the NES chip, the lockout chip. That's still stock. Everything else here is, you know, pretty much the same as when it originally came out of the factory, aside from the points that I mentioned before. But nonetheless, we'll put the cover back on here, get it all kind of cleaned up, and do some testing on it. So, almost finished, guys. See you in a little bit for the final video. Stay tuned. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got the top all put back together. Screws are in this. You might be able to tell from the lighting here, this does have a tan or a light brown color to it, just from all of the fading over the years. But overall, not too bad. Door here looks nice and gray on the inside. We've got our AB cables plugged in, our power supply in the back, and I figured we could test out the old system here with one last try while we've got it back together. And we'll use our extremely beat and abused, but still functioning, Adventures of Link. So the same game that was played in this machine probably 20 years ago when it was left in a barn to rot. Hopefully we can get this thing to fire on. No problem. So pop this down, close this up, hit the old switch, and there we have it, guys. It's alive. And looking good. So that's it. The old tale of the Barntendo. And from the grave, back to saved. With the games here, working in all their glory. Way they used to once work. No problems at all. Using 90% of the original hardware here, with just a few modifications. And we've got our other guy here, good old Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers. This one also works no problem, and just due to copyright and all that good stuff with Nintendo, figure we'll leave that one there. But as you can see here, 1987. 10 years later, 1997, left in a barn to rot until 2017, and back up and going again. But if you guys stuck on this long, and were able to get some enjoyment out of the video, then that's fantastic. But as you can see here, the adventures of Link now also end here with the adventures of the Barntendo. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Here we go. Whee! Alright guys, we'll catch you again here soon. More repair projects in the future, hopefully. I'll catch you again later. Thanks again.